one of the things I love about John MacArthur, every time he gives an exposition of Scripture, it's sprinkled not only with a bunch of Scriptures, but as one Greek term after another, where he's explaining for us what those particular Greek words mean. And we have to pay attention to the words, because one of the problems we have in Scripture is that words are used. In many cases, the same word may have 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 nuances to it. How many times does the Bible talk about the will of God? Well, there are at least 8 ways in which the Bible talks about the will of God. Which one is in view in a particular passage? How about this one? God is not willing that any should perish. I'm bloodied and bruised from being hit with that verse. God is not willing that any should perish. I said, willing in what sense? In the sovereign, efficacious will by which whatever God ordains to come to pass must necessarily come to pass? Or is this God's will of disposition, of what pleases him? He takes no delight in the death of the wicked. What is it? But even more importantly, what's the meaning of the word any here? God is not willing that any should perish. Any what? Giraffes? Platypuses? Greeks? What do people read into that text? God is not willing that any human being will ever perish. Well, if God is not willing that any person should ever perish, and he's speaking here of God's sovereign, efficacious will, then now the text teaches way too much for the Arminian, because now it teaches that everybody will be saved. But if we look at the text, we say the any, what's the antecedent of the any? Contextually, it's the word us. So what is Peter saying? God is not willing that any of us should perish. Okay. Now, who are the us? Well, it's obviously the people he's talking to. Who are they? Well, we have to go and look and see to whom the letters of Peter are addressed, and who are they addressed to? Yes, you guessed it, the elect. And so what Peter is clearly teaching in the text is God is not willing that any of the elect should perish. So far from being an Arminian text, this text is as Calvinistic as you can get, if you pay attention to the meaning of the words. What else do you have? A woman is saved in childbearing, right? Well, we know what to be saved means: to be reconciled with God, to be delivered from the kingdom of darkness to the kingdom of light. Never mind that the Bible's meaning of the term saved, sozo, is used to be any kind of rescue from any kind of peril or calamity. So that if you're saved from illness, you've been saved. If you're rescued from defeat in battle, you've been saved. There are all kinds of ways in which you're saved. There must be distinguished from the ultimate sense of salvation, where you're rescued from the wrath of God that is to come. So when the apostle says that women are saved by childbearing, they're not saying that there are 2 ways to salvation. One is justification by faith for the men, or justification by having babies for the women. We have to be careful of our understanding of the meaning of the words of the Bible.